Hello everyone. Indian higher education system is ripe for a disruption. The rising number of young men and women entering the Indian universities expect and demand for global standards of teaching and learning. There are huge systemic challenges and resource constraints for a large and diverse country like India. It's futile to depend only on a top-down approach of government interventions and regulatory mechanisms to uplift our higher education system. We also need a bottom-up approach at individual institutional level to fast-track this transformation. And here, the leadership of each institution matters a lot. Indian society in general is comfortable with hierarchy. We accept unequal distribution of power in our families and institutions as quite normal. In our higher education system also, centralization of power among a few top leaders of the institution like Chancellor, Vice Chancellor and Registrar is a well accepted norm. Every other stakeholder looks up to them for most of the decisions, policies or strategies. So here leadership is power centers of specialized roles. Today I have a story to tell about a different approach to leadership. It's about my experience in a Catholic university in the southern part of India, where I studied as well as worked as a part of the administration team. I have witnessed this institution transform itself from a small affiliated college into a nationally reputed multi-campus university within a span of few years. Seeing this institution grow exponentially before my eyes, I believe one of the major factors for this transformation is its approach to leadership. I experienced shared leadership in action in this university. Leadership as a shared process first emerged in the leadership literature in the 90s as a response to the struggle of conventional top-down leadership in the context of increasingly volatile and complex business environment. In a shared leadership, there are greater number of individuals in leadership than traditional models. The distinction between leaders and followers are less visible. The importance given to position or authority is minimal. Multiple perspectives and expertise are encouraged for problem solving, innovation and change. Greater emphasis on collaboration and interaction across the organization. This is the kind of shared leadership I experienced being part of the management team. Of course, there are specialized roles like Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, CFO, directors of various functions, etc. But I found individuals assuming different roles takes complete ownership of the position, at the same time influence and support each other. Nobody wanted to exert their power over others, rather helped each other with a focused goal of institutional development. I remember the days when you go from the campus way past midnight during the admission season. Not just the director of admission, but most of us. Everyday dining room debates about various policies, processes, challenges, etc. This is what I mean by shared leadership in action. I think today we can see the importance of this leadership approach in the context of pandemic crisis. Healthcare sector is a perfect example of shared leadership. If our country is still moving ahead with all its struggles, it's primarily not because of the top-down leadership of our elected governments or bureaucracy. It's because of the response of our hospitals and healthcare sector at large. Here, not just the administrators or doctors are the leaders, but everyone from the ambulance driver to housekeeping staff, nurses, paramedics, and every other employee of the hospital. They are fighting this war and winning. There is a lot the higher education system in our country can learn from this. To rise from the life support system in which our higher education system finds itself today require every stakeholder to take a more responsible leadership role. Shared leadership to work in an institution, a few factors are essential. The first and foremost important pillar is a shared meaning and purpose. We know how purpose-driven organizations outperform its counterparts. Here the question is whether meaning and purpose which the organization believes is internalized by all members. It has to cut across to the mental models of every employee. I personally believe giving a holistic educational experience, both academic as well as non-academic, to each student entering into the campus as the core purpose of a university. All the processes and decisions should have this purpose as the driving force. And the constant challenge is to get the buy-in of this purpose from every staff in the university. The second dimension of shared leadership is the emotional bond and social support exists among the staff members. Couple of times in the last decade, we have done a culture audit to understand what is the existing organizational culture the university has developed over a period of time. The results were consistent, and one predominant culture type emerged from the study was clan culture. It symbolizes that the staff in general feels like one big happy family. Most of the time, people enjoy a collaborative work environment and they feel trusted and valued. The third important dimension is the individual voice and contribution. How does everyone listen to and appreciate each other's ideas and efforts? The strategy among the administration team in our university was to create a mechanism of informal conversations. It happens at the lunch table on a daily basis. Before a problem or policy discussion is brought into the formal settings of the boardroom, multiple perspectives have already been heard over the lunchtime conversations. Hence, the decision becomes an integration of everyone's voice. Today, Indian higher education is going through a multitude of challenges. Great financial stress on families, onslaught of online education, corporatization of higher education, international partnerships, ever-changing space of educational technology, changing learning preferences of new generation students. All these pose great threats for the leaders in higher education. Traditional leadership models of specialized roles may not be able to cope with these disruptive challenges. I believe shared leadership model can respond to this in a much better way, capitalizing on the importance of leaders throughout the organization, not just those in positions of authority, and creating an ecosystem where institution can benefit from the leadership of multiple people. If shared leadership has to be nurtured in the fabric of an organization, the hierarchy should be more transformational leaders. In my PhD research, it was found that in the Indian higher education context, the relationship between leader and members are mostly transactional, with emphasis in order, structure, and rules. This style is in fact very efficient, with an incessant focus on results. But shared leadership calls for a transformational style. It's based on inspiration, motivation, ideals, intellectually stimulating environment, respect and trust for each team member. This leadership style drives transformation of the leader, team members, and the institution. As you see, it's a continuum. As an effective leader, you have to move back and forth based on the situation. But with your core team, you always have to be transformational if you want to create a culture of shared leadership. It's about being genuine, passionate, supportive, and trustworthy. At the same time, having a clear vision of what the team wants to achieve. Being part of university leadership, one has a huge responsibility to be the change makers within and outside the institution. If we restrict ourselves to the limits of our specific role descriptions and adopt a transactional approach to our responsibilities, we won't make much changes and our impact would be very limited. These pandemic times have revealed the limits as well as the merits of many leaders around the globe. We have seen many acclaimed political or corporate leaders fail miserably or unable to rise above the tide. At the same time, lesser-known individuals in various organizations have shown remarkable leadership in responding to the crisis. Their open, honest, transparent, at the same time collaborative approach have helped the organizations to weather the difficult period. And their choices and decisive actions have transformational impact in their areas of influence, be it a hospital, a university, an NGO, or a business house. These are the ones who fostered a shared leadership, relying on expert advisors and energetically seeking diverse opinions. They ensured that right people are empowered and given autonomy as well as support to respond to the crisis. Let me conclude with reinforcing my case for shared leadership in our institutions of higher learning. It requires nurturing shared meaning and purpose at all levels of our institution and building a culture of mutual trust, empathy, and collaboration. Finally, it demands being open to diversity of voices and appreciating individual contributions. Let the winds of change transform our universities into hubs of creativity, collaboration, and deep learning to capitalize on our huge demographic dividend for the sustainable future of our nation. Thank you very much.